Okay, so hello everyone and welcome to today's session. My name is Bhavesh from the SwiftEnterprise product management team, and today we'll be taking you through the updates that are part of the 5.0 version. So we would like to assure you that the webinar is being recorded and will be shared with all those who have registered for the session. And we would definitely like to hear from you. So please type in your questions and feedback in the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen anytime during the webinar. We will take up those questions at the end of the session. I'm sure today you will be having many questions, so we will reserve the time to take up as many questions as possible towards the end. So before we begin with what we have in store for you today, we would like to spend some time recapping on our vision, on how we started off with our 4.0 release and how we have been building on it so far. So enterprises globally are increasingly using technology and software as a competitive advantage. Digital transformation has become one of the most, if not the most important business transformation initiative in the organizations. So digital transformation goes beyond automating the manual steps, doing the same things faster, or improving applications by rationalizing their processes. Transformation requires a fundamental change in the way we think technology can be used to meet the business objectives. So the method as well as the tool need to change for us to achieve the next level of success. That's why we need to move away from the existing waterfall ways of working and use the lean agile techniques to come closer to the business users and focus more on the outcomes rather than the work outputs. With Swift Enterprise 4.0 release, we have brought in several major updates that help you plan, execute, and monitor your agile projects much more effectively. At the same time, on the technology front, we have seen that artificial intelligence has made inroads into several industries wherein large amounts of data is being processed to provide innovative solutions. So we'll be coming up with a separate offering that allows us to harness that power of artificial intelligence and use it to analyze the Swift Enterprise project data and recommend solutions to the risks and issues identified proactively. Swift Enterprise 5.0 is our first step in that direction, wherein we bring in the power of AI and ML that helps you monitor work progress in a whole new way and helps you do the routine work easily. With this new method of working and the cutting edge technology taking the center stage, the medium to help everyone utilize this becomes all the more important. Hence, we will continue to build on our mobile app and provide more information for you to act while you are on the go. So all this in a nutshell is our way to deliver enterprise class agility for end-to-end global delivery. With that as the context, let's look at what we have in store for you in terms of Swift Enterprise 5.0. We'll first look at the two new AI capabilities, team dynamics, which essentially are the emotional intelligence analytics that gives you powerful insights into your team's emotional health based on their interactions on various work items. We have also started our journey of AI-based assistance by going conversational. So talk to our chatbot to get quick information about your work and perform the routine actions right from your Slack account. On the analytics front, your ability to slice and dice project data across multiple item types has gone up with a brand new pivot analytics. And for our agile projects, we have brought in two new widgets that provide key insights related to your current sprint burndown and release burnup easily. Apart from these new features, we will quickly go over some of the other enhancements that have been shipped as part of the release. So with that as our agenda, let's get started. So first up is our AI powered capabilities. Okay, so I have the Team Dynamics dashboard in front of me. So what we are looking at here is essentially all the project data that has been given for analyzing the comments that have been added across multiple work item types for us to know how the team has been communicating with each other or across teams and along with the customer users who are part of that project. So right on top, what you see are the traditional filters wherein you can filter based on status, you can filter based on emotions, uh, you can filter based on who were the assignee for the respective issues, and you can also filter based on the duration for which you are able to see the data. Now, this data can be chosen to be synced for specific item types. So, in this case, what we have done is we have chosen change requests, defects, and issues, because those are the typically items wherein you will see a lot of communication happening over comments. So keeping that in mind, what we are looking at right on top is a summary of all the information that has been analyzed. So you are getting to see how many issues have been analyzed, what has been the time spent in negative emotions. So that essentially means whatever are the comments that have happened on over the work items, how much percentage of time they have been in a certain emotion. So since we are wanting to look at the negative emotions and ensure that we look at them proactively, that's right up on the summary. Similarly, the happiness trend is also shown up right on top, so that you know how the team emotion has been uh, over the past this week and the previous week. Along with these, we have a couple of summaries which tell you how many average conversations have happened and how many disagreements have may have happened during these conversations. And we'll also look at the network density. So I'll come to that aspect while I go over each of these widgets. Now, what you're looking out at is basically all the comments data being analyzed and shown in different dimensions. So you are able to see the average time spent in emotions. There's a a weekly calendar that assesses based on the conversations that have been made across item types, uh, how the emotion has changed over the past week for each of those individuals. So the smiley is a clear indicator of how the team member must have felt right at the end of the day. Then we have a set of prioritized issues, which essentially are a way to know which are the issues I should be looking at on priority. Since this is a project data which we are looking at and has been there for so many years, you are able to look at the overall trend of the number of disagreements one may be having, or the happiness index. Now, in terms of the happiness index, it has fluctuated a lot, and it seems to have been stabilizing between zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.6. So what we were looking at is the happiness index, and as you can see, it has analyzed around 4,500 conversations, and it has also shown me how many conversations are positive and negative, and depending upon the certain threshold set as part of the AI algorithms that are being used to analyze all these emotions, we are ranking them between 0 to zero point 0.5. So anything beyond zero point 0.5 is something which we consider as happy, and anything below the zero point 0.5 index is getting considered as low happiness. Now, to just see a correlation of how this can happen is I'm looking at all the issues which are getting analyzed here, and let's say I open up this defect in this case. Now, what I see here is I'm able to see the basic details, and along with that, I see that the recent emotion is sadness, and the risk score is green. So between red and green, this seems to be pretty green on the risk score level. Now, let's see why this kind of analysis has happened. So there are about 17 comments that have gone back and forth between the support and the customer here. And finally, it seems that the customer said the issue still persists as we did not get a solution from Digite for a long time, and user created another project, so this ticket can be closed. Now, this is one of scenarios wherein we are not able to help out in a timely manner due to issue which required a lot of analysis, and the root cause could not be found in time for us to be able to get fixed. So while the customer is saying that the ticket can be closed, it assisted appropriately, saying that customer is also not happy that he didn't get the timely response or the resolution that he was looking for. So since the ticket has been closed, it has been given a low risk score, but at the same time the emotion was captured as sadness. So that's how these correlations may happen based on how the analysis is done by the algorithm. As we all know, for the AI algorithms, there would be a certain percentage of error uh, involved. So you may not find a direct correlation always, but based on all the algorithms being used, you will be able to get a fair amount of understanding of what is the overall happiness index for your team and in general over a period of time. So what we would encourage our customers to do is look at the overall picture, how the trend has been for the project in general, without trying to drill down into a specific instance of where it was a negative and why it was a negative. I think it would help a lot if we look at the overall trend, because that will help us know in which way the team is headed. So we are wanting to work on this data further so that we are able to make correlations not just with the team members here, but other metrics as well. So if your happiness index is going down in, let's say, quarter two, uh, is that impacting your effort deviation or schedule deviation in quarter three? So those kind of correlations you would be able to make further as we keep getting this analysis further into our product and utilizing it for all other areas. So for now, what you're getting is a thorough analysis of all the communication or all the exchange of comments that are happening across work items. So let me come back to the presentation. So just to summarize, what we looked at in the team dynamics is it gives you a whole lot of widgets that have analysis of the emotional state expressed over the conversations the team members are having in various different dimensions. So the average time in emotions, the Nico Nico calendar, which is a weekly one, and several other widgets that give you a whole lot of information on how the overall state of the team is while they are dealing with their work. And at the same time, I just wanted to add that this, in effect, is also a add-on module, and depending upon how your setup is and how the data exchange will happen, the deployment aspects, that all we will take up separately on a case-by-case basis. So each customer would have a different environment and a different configuration to work on with. So we will work with you to see how that can be done best. Okay, so next up is our chatbot. So what I've done here is I've opened up my Slack account here, and I've added the SwiftEnterprise bot here as one of the chatbots I can have a conversation with. So this is in our area wherein we want to make routine actions simpler for the user to perform without having to switch applications, without having to switch context, and still be able to do certain operations easily. So for such instances, what we have done is we have created a chatbot. Again, this is powered by the cutting edge AI technologies so that you are able to get the best conversational experience while you are working with this chatbot. So let me show you how that works. So I'll send a hi to my chatbot and it would say, how may I help you? So I can say show my inbox, and it enlists all the items which are there in my inbox. Uh, I could, instead of seeing the list of the entire items here, what I can also do is simply say any items due today, and it will enlist all the items which are due for today. Not just that, I could also say, so any critical items is probably what I can look for. And it shows me the list of critical items as well. So the information on the work items has been parameterized. As we dwell further, it is able to understand without having to say a certain keyword or a command. I'm able to fetch the relevant records, and just like you are having a conversation, you are able to have a conversation with the bot here, and it is able to respond to it fairly easily. Now, since we are using several such technologies here at the back end, it's just not about the context in which you are talking that matters. Uh, I might as well say, what's on my plate, and it will still show me all the items in my inbox. So it understands the context from which I am coming from, and based on that, it is able to show me my inbox items. So going back to the example, what I would do is, in my critical items which are due today, I know there is one which is due today as well. So what I can do here is perform some standard operations like lock time, route, or reject. So when I hit lock time, what it does, it allows me to lock time for the specific day, current day by default, and I say submit. So in this case, the time lock got added successfully. I can also say route chr1, and it will ask me for the route action comments, because the routing comments have been enabled for the change request. Okay, let me give that another try. Looks like it did understand my response in this case. I'll say reject chr1. And it got that this time. So the item has been rejected successfully, and it confirms that as well. So that's how you can perform some of our standard operations as well easily by the chatbot. And apart from this, I can also look for, say, show my to-dos, and it will enlist all the to-dos in my inbox so that I can log time on them as well. And finally, once I'm done with the conversation, I can always converse in a way wherein completes the interaction. So all in all, what you are seeing here is the ability to perform the standard or the routine operations for which you would want to switch to our application and perform them and come back to your work. So that context switch has gone off, and it has been done in a very seamless way, so that whatever conversation you may have with a team member, in a similar manner, you are able to chat with this bot and get things done. So what we looked at here is that you are able to act from Slack here, get the basic operations done, and all this is done in a very conversational way without having to remember any specific keywords or commands. And finally, it is context driven. It understands where I'm coming from based on whatever conversations I've had. It keeps learning based on the interactions I keep having with the bot, and it continues to build on it to be able to respond to all my questions. So this, as we have highlighted here, is in the beta stage, but certainly we are looking to build on this more, support more use cases, and definitely will look to hear more from you on what all things you would like to get done with the help of a bot. So for now, this is what we have on the beta version. Also, just to add, the chatbot based on Slack is available as an add-on module. So again, on the financial aspects and the deployment aspects, you can get in touch with our support and our sales team, and we will be able to help you further on it. So moving on to the new analytics. So we typically come across scenarios wherein you are just wanting to fetch data, collate it, summarize it as you would normally do in a Excel. Collate all that data and just try to sum up it using the pivot capability. So in this release, what we have done is we have tried to build on that principle of pivoting and provide you this report wherein you can build a pivot table on your own. So to get started with this, what you have to do is you have to select certain item types on which you want to do that pivoting. So as you can see, I have selected a couple of item types. So it's no longer constrained to a single item type that you have seen in our item status analytics so far. So this gives you the power of being able to assess information across item types as well. Also, so that we work on a certain set of records for pivoting this, what we have done is we have introduced an advanced filter that you would typically use on your e-form listings as well, but use this to get all the relevant data. So in this case, I fetched a data for release. I say generate. So it brings all the records that I had tagged as per that filter. These are the fields that are present on the change requests and defects of these work items. So what I can do is select, let's say, the release, and I would also like to see it by sprint, and as also based on the item type. So it quickly shows me the count of change requests and defects across the release and the sprint. In this case, let me change the order. Maybe I want it to come up in this way, wherein I am able to see the release on top and then the subsequent sprints. And on the left hand side, I have the change requests and defects. So I'm able to do all this slice and dice very easily without having to wait every time the data loads, because we have gotten all the records at the first time when you click on generate, and all you are doing now is just a simple slice and dice. Now, even if you want to tweak this further, you could do that by selecting the values here. So let's say I don't want to look at certain values here. So let me just unselect certain values, and I'm able to see the total counts. Now I'm able to see all the total counts, but instead of count, I don't want to restrict it to just the number of items here. I want to see the actual effort that has been logged against all these work items. So I could change the aggregation type as well. So I would say sum, and I'll say actual effort. Based on actual effort, I would like to see the aggregations. So now I'm able to look at all this data and infer how much amount of time has been spent across these sprints and across the work item types for a given release. Now, since I'm able to have all the attributes here, I can might as well go further and say I want to have the next level of detail. So here itself, I can get the next level of detail by saying I want the ID and the name of the work item that have contributed to the respective sprint. So that's how easy it is to build your own pivot table and do all the relevant analysis that you may want to see. So moving further with the analytics, what we will get on to are the dashboards on for your agile projects. So for our agile projects, what we have also done is brought in a couple of new widgets that show a better representation of your burn down and your burn up at the sprint and release level respectively. So up until now, whenever you added our generic burn down chart widget, it used to show data for the current sprint and in terms of us. But the need to have it at the release level and at the burn up level was not available by default. So what we have done is we have introduced two new widgets. So every time you add them, every time you add a sprint burn down, what you will see is you will be able to see the current sprint data automatically. Now, one thing I'd like to add here is that whenever you are doing looking at the data, depending upon how well the sprint has been performing, we have also added a summary on top. So you will always see the sprint name, and if things are going well, as you are seeing here in the case of sprint 17.1, the team has been able to manage good progress, and they are well below the ideal burn down line. So you are shown the remaining effort for that sprint in green. Whereas if the team is lagging behind and fairly so, more than maybe 5%, what we do is we start showing you the projected spillover that may happen if the team continues to burn at the current rate. In addition to that, we also suggest the percentage of improvement required by the team to complete this project on time without any spillover. So in this case, I see that if I continue at the current rate, I'll still end up spilling over 40 hours of work. And if I have to get that work done, the team has to improve their burn down by at least 10%. Now, there are numerous ways in which this team could do that. It could probably work more hours. They could de-scope a certain item which is not probably a priority anymore, or work with other team members to see how they can better manage the work. So there are different ways in which this can be handled. So what we are showing here is the percentage by which the team needs to work in order to avoid any spillover. So that's how the representation for your sprint burn downs has become much more effective. And as you can see, the current day is also highlighted. The remaining hours or the actual line will show only till the current day to avoid confusion on what is the current day data being shown on. And at the same time, you will see a progressive representation every time you load the sprint burn down. So on a similar basis for your release burnup, whenever you have a release going on track, you are able to see that the release is well below the ideal burnup. And in this case, since this release has ended, there is no other summary being shown here. However, if there is a release which is again lagging in some ways to complete the work, it starts showing you the data in the basis of points. So release you would typically track on the basis of points or a number of work items that are being completed. So in this case, I've chosen it to be points, and I'm able to see the projected spillover to be 11. And if the team needs to avoid that, they need to improve the burn up by at least 15%. So the number of story points the team has been completing so far till the current day, that is helping us assess if they continue to work at that same rate, how many points will spill over, and by how many points, at what rate or what percentage they need to improve in order to complete those remaining 11 points as well. So to quickly summarize, we looked at the new sprint burndown chart, how you get a better representation of the burndown with respect to the ideal line, as well as get tips if there are possible slippages that are going to happen. And similarly on the release burnup front, where you see your ideal burnup line. On the pivot analytics front, we also saw that you can do analysis across work item types, and you are able to do a drag and drop of all the attributes that are there on the e-forms, so that you are able to do slice and dice in various ways. And we also saw how you can choose between the different aggregation types, whether be it account or average or sum, to get an overall picture for the data. So apart from these major enhancements, what we have also done is we have also enhanced it in ways on the mobile app front. So we have started supporting the Azure Active Directory Authentication Library for our mobile app. So if you are using ADAL for your authentication purpose in your organization, you would be able to now authenticate your mobile app as well. On the ECR front, you would be getting the details of the original item whenever you do a copy, if you use the get event details. And finally, on the execution board, we have renamed the views on top from all work items to my work items, and to all cards and my cards, as well as we are showing you the total count of the cards visible on the board at that given point of time right on top. So you get a sense of how many cards are there also at the highest level and how many cards are there for you. So that's all we wanted to cover today with our session. I'll now open it up for Q&A. I'll go over all the questions which we have in the Q&A box. So first up, I'm seeing a question. Are you reading the sentiment of the comment to arrive at the emotion? So yes, we are syncing a lot of data of the work item, but primarily, yes, we are relying on the comments data to arrive at the sentiment the user has at that point of time. So apart from that, all the data that is being synced on the work item, it also helps us understand the overall resolution time, how much waiting time has been there for the user, and all that does get considered as part of the analysis happening by the AI algorithms. So if the conversation has been going on for a long time and still the issue has ended, it will understand that, make that correlation, and ensure that that gets added up whenever the final emotion is getting arrived at. So next question are how are the emotional response captured? Where would we get this team dynamics? Is it a widget or an ECR where the rules are to be defined? So this is a separate module. Like I said, you will once you have this add-on module, you will get all the widgets that we showcased today, and it will get all the data based on which e-forms or work item types that you choose to share that information for, because generally the comments or the collaboration will happen on items wherein there's a lot of back and forth happening, typically on maintenance or support projects. So we would want to understand which of those e-forms are, and then sync that data based on which it will work. So does the bot learn from the chats or take fixed commands? So as we saw, it does learn from all the interactions it has had so far. So since it's a AI ML based chatbot, it will continue to learn based on all the interactions you have had so far. Next question I see is, what does the generate button do in the analytics pivot? Uh, Basically, it is helping you fetch all the relevant records that you would want to further slice and dice and look at in your report. The next question again is related to pivot analytics. Is it at the project level or can it be done at the group of projects or organization level? So for now, it is only at the project level that you will be able to do the analysis. We will definitely want to bring it at a higher level, uh, more so from performance point of view and other aspects. We would want to see it goes out as in a seamless way. So we have started this journey by providing it at the project level for now. The fields for pivot analytics, does it cover both eForm and ECR fields or only eForm fields? Again, on this question, yes, it does cover only the eForm fields and only the attributes that you would see on your field segments, so to speak. So the ECR fields will not be available for the pivoting there. So there's one question, all these are add-on only? So pivot analytics is definitely not an add-on. You will get it in the product, but the chatbot and the team dynamics is an add-on. So that's why our request to you to get in touch with our sales team or support team to help you further with how to bring that into your organization. So I see some questions related to chatbot asking uh, what is uh, what is the technology being used. So we are relying again on a framework here, but I wouldn't want to get into the technical details of it right now. If required, we can have a separate conversation on a one-on-one where we can explain how we have achieved what we have built so far. So going back to the team dynamics front, I have a question: how emotions are being captured? So again, based on the analysis done on the comments on the work items, we are making the judgment of how what is the emotion being expressed by the team members while having that interaction. Yeah. So add-on does mean it requires a separate license. I would also want to highlight here is the pivot analytics does have standard charts available as well. So you can do a quick pivoting uh, and also see that in chart format. So any other prediction models developed and rolled out to predict the schedule variance, effort variance, and additional quality. So as I said at the start, it is a part of our roadmap. The first step was to bring in all this data into the system so that you are able to see how the team is performing, what is the emotional intelligence overall for the team, and at the same time, we are able to start making the correlations as well. So in our future releases, you will certainly see us working towards that objective wherein you are able to make that correlation. When I do actions from the route chatbot, will all the validations fire? So since the chatbot is based on our application, we are using the standard APIs that our application would use. So the same checks and balances will get performed every time you interact with the chatbot. I see one question wherein how you calculate the sprint and release burndown chart to be good or bad. So as we saw, if the progress of the team is above the ideal burn down, so the team is certainly behind, and it needs to be closer to the ideal line or below for it to be in green. So that's the standard way of understanding whether they are on track or not. So we'll wait for a couple of more minutes to see if there are any unanswered questions. Of course, like I said, if you are having any queries on what technologies or how this would get implemented eventually at your organization, we would certainly want to have a separate conversation with you because I'm sure there will be several questions. They might be specific to your organization as well. So we can schedule a separate session with the respective teams to help you understand this better. So I don't think we are seeing any new questions here. So just to reiterate, a self-organizing happy team is always important for you to continue to deliver high value. So bringing in team dynamics that highlights the emotional aspects of the interaction the team members are having. I'm sure this gives you a whole new dimension to look at the way the project can be improved and continue to work towards your continuous improvement journey. So I'm sure this all the sentiment analysis that is happening here using advanced AI and NLP techniques will help you get a whole new insight onto how the team is working. And even on the chatbot front, As we said, it's just the start of the journey. That's why it's in beta mode right now. But we are wanting to build this further so that we are able to assist typical users who are just wanting to get things done without having to do a lot of context switch. That takes them away from using entering the data into the application that helps us roll it up in all the relevant places for reporting. So that again is one step in that direction, which where we are helping not just the management layer but as well as the end users using the next gen technologies. So I'm sure you're all excited with this release, and we'll hope to hear from you. If you still have any questions, do let us know. Do reach out to the sales team, the support team, and we'll certainly get back to you with all the relevant details. So that's all we had for the session today. Have a great day.